welcome to today's session, which we're going to look at the benefits of massage, and we're going to look around pain, sensitivity, and sort of desensitizing. And I've got a really nice little video to show you. And once we watch the video, we're going to have the opportunity to do some massage. So I'd mentioned earlier to use a massage medium that you like if you wish. You don't have to, you can massage through clothes, massaging your hand or your shoulder or your arm. So I'm going to look at today, I'm going to be massaging my arm. If I was to constantly rub my arm, it would start to burn. I would drag the hairs. It wouldn't feel very nice after a while, especially if I got a bit tacky and sweaty. I'd start pulling the skin. So a massage medium is going to be what helps glide. So the massage mediums that I've recommended, your own choice of moisturizer, something you know suits your skin, is fine. The only slight disadvantage with that is it gets nicely absorbed and disappears, and you may be applying a little bit more. That's entirely up to you, totally fine. Something like coconut oil, mine is liquid at the moment. It's not a solid at all because of the warm weather. And again, that's going to be absorbed by your body. You know, whatever goes on your skin is going to go into your body, isn't it? Grapeseed oil is quite a good neutral one. Most people tend to not have allergies to grapeseed oil. And then I was really fortunate when I helped out with the Commonwealth Games to be able to use some Songbird, which is a really nice, it's a wax, and it's really good for if you're particularly hairy, and talc is another one. So what I'm going to suggest that you do is take a nice relaxing in breath, draw it in through your nose if you can, just hold it slightly at the top of your breath before releasing it fully and completely and breathing out for a little bit longer than the in-breath. If you need to roll your shoulders to relax them, then do so. And using maybe your lap, I've got a little towel that I'm going to just rest on the table there, and then I'm going to massage. So I'm going to use my oil, and I'm going to work up towards my heart with a stronger stroke and down towards the sort of periphery with a lighter stroke. So not heavy pressure at all, but just work up towards your sort of elbow joint, or if you're working all the way up towards your shoulder, try and cover that arm muscle as much as you can. Through your hand might be quite nice. All the way up to the top. So this can be as fast or as slow as you like. It can be as deep or as light as you like, because you know what works for you and what feels nice. It shouldn't cause pain. We shouldn't be feeling any pain. So what we're doing here with our effleurage, we're doing a stronger stroke on the way up. So we're supporting our lymphatic system. Our lymph nodes are in our armpits and in our neck and in our groin, etc. And we're helping that lymphatic fluid that contains toxins. It also transports fat-soluble vitamins, but we're helping it to move around our body. It hasn't got a pump like our heart has. So we may feel that that muscle is starting to warm up. So we're going to, in a moment, we're going to do that maybe to the other arm. You might want to include breath work. And we can work across the muscle as well. So we can almost pick that muscle up and roll it over. So we've worked along our muscle fibers, and you may need to rest from time to time, rest that arm or roll the shoulder. And then we can work along our muscle fibers, almost as if we're rolling that muscle over the bone and rolling it back. So I'm holding my arm up so that you can see, but hopefully yours is lovely and relaxed in your lap. So almost wringing that muscle. You should feel the muscle move around the bone. So you can work all the way up and all the way down through those muscle fibers. So this is still part of our beautiful effleurage. So we've worked longitudinally and we're along the muscle fibers, and we've worked across the muscle fibers. And if we want to, we're working with our breath. Then something called petrissage is a little bit difficult to do with one hand. It's great if you've got someone else doing it on you. It's also great if you are able to deliver it to somebody else. But it's normally, it's used with both hands, almost in that sort of motion, but we're only going to use one. So you're almost going to, it's as if you're sort of picking and rolling the muscle. So work your way up towards the joint or up towards the heart. And it's almost a sort of circular. So if you had two hands, one will push one way and one will push the other. And it causes quite a nice little fluid movement. But this is, you can almost feel a bit of a picking up of the muscle and a pushing along. But it shouldn't hurt. Don't let it hurt. So that's part of our petrissage. And all around that muscle. If it's just in the hand, again, it's quite nice to just do it through a specific point, or all the way along your limb, whichever. And then we can do several different things. If there was an area that had a little bit more pain or discomfort, we can work into that. We can also do a little bit of sort of vibration of the muscle, just sort of making it feel nice and loose. And that's where sometimes when you see people doing the karate chop style, it's really loose, floppy hands, but it just helps with vibration. Or cupping just helps. It can help with relaxing your muscle. So whilst we watch a video by, I think he's brilliant, Lorimer Mosley, his name is, and I'll add the links on Facebook and on the video as well. But he talks about how we perceive pain. And also we'll look at how we can change some of those messages, because pain is good because it stops us getting hurt more, because if you've touched a fire and you realized it hurt, you're not likely to want to touch a fire again. So it's all about learning. But sometimes people with a fatigue related condition can also have pain, which can cause sleep disturbance, which can cause fatigue, so it can be a bit of a vicious cycle. So if we can undo some of this, as we massage, we produce oxytocin, which can lower our blood pressure and relax our breathing and help with rest and digest. It can help support sleep. So massage can help with producing endorphins and all sorts. But let's have a little look at our wonderful Lorimer Mosley, and he's this one here. So I'll put that on full, and hopefully everyone can see that and hear it when he starts.
Don't have a nap. Raise your hand, just squeeze your left ear as hard as you can. Raise your hand if it hurts. Fantastic. Thanks for having me. No, that's not true. Let me tell you a story. I just want to take that off the screen for the moment. I want to tell you a story that will explain to you the first 3 years of the neurobiology of pain that you would study at university. 8 years ago, I was walking in the bush. I had a sarong on. Very cool. This is what happened. Did you see that? Hang on. This is what happened. Biologically, I'm going to tell you what happened just then. Something touched the outside of my left leg in the skin. That activates receptors on the end of big, fat, myelinated, fast-conducting nerve fibers. And they strand straight up my leg, straight into my spinal cord, up this part of my brain. And they say, you've just been touching the outside of your left leg in the skin. Meanwhile, whatever it was is sufficiently intense to activate free nerve endings. We call them nociceptors. They're thin, unmyelinated, slow-conducting LADA nimba. Someone knows what a LADA nimba is. Nerve fibers, and that message travels up to my spinal cord, and it gets to my spinal cord, and that's as far as it goes. And it says to a fresh neuron in my spinal cord, you've seen something dangerous has happened on the outside of your left leg in the skin, mate. And the spinal nociceptor takes that message up to the thalamus, which sits in there somewhere, and says, there's danger on the outside of your left leg in the skin, mate. Now the brain has to evaluate how dangerous this really is. So it looks at everything. And the way that I make sense of this, of what happened to me, is the brain thought, frontal lobe, have we been anywhere like this before? Hang on, I'll just ask the posterior parietal cortex. Have we been in this environment before? Yes, we have. Has it happened at this stage of the gait cycle? Yes, it has. Is it coming from the same location? Yes, it is. What is it? Well, your whole life growing up, you used to scratch your legs on twigs. This is not dangerous. I'm going to give you the organism just something so you can kick off the twig and continue on your merry way. And that's what happened to me. Can't show you now, but I took off my sarong, got in the river, got out of the river, and that's the last thing I remember. Having been bitten by an eastern brown snake. Survivor. Thank you very much. Now, for some reason, the eastern brown snake works by poisoning you, clearly. And one of the things that it does is activate nerve fibers. So actually, my brain would have got all these messages saying, danger, 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 danger. And in its wisdom, it said, no, 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 no. 6 months later, I'm walking in the bush with a boring talker. You know what a boring talker is? Those people, it doesn't matter what they say, it's boring. That's irrelevant, but we'll call her Naomi because that is her name. Anyway, this is what happened, right? Oh, wow! And I am in agony. I have got a white hot poke of pain screaming up my leg. I'll tell you biologically what's happening. Something touched the outside of my left leg in the skin. That activates big, fat, myelinated nerve fibers, which send a message up to here, touching the outside of your left leg in the skin. It's sufficiently intense to activate these three nerve endings. Danger effective. Take the message to my spinal cord. That's been something dangerous has happened on the outside of your left leg in the skin. Yeah. Well done. You weren't planted. That goes to the thalamus and says the same thing. Something dangerous has just happened on the outside of your left leg in the skin. So the brain says, thanks very much, thalamus. Kids are right. Good. Anyway. Frontal cortex. Anything to tell me about this? Hang on. I'll ask the posterior parietal cortex. Where are we? We're walking in the bush. You're a bit mate happy. This stage of the gait cycle, where's it coming from? Have we been here before? Oh, yes, we have. Last time we were here, you almost died. I'm going to make this hurt so much that you can do nothing else. And I was in absolute agony for what seemed like minutes. Screaming pain. Until one of my mates looked at my leg and there's a little scratch from a twig. The pain in those situations was totally different because of meaning. I want to try and convince you that pain is an illusion 100% of the time. Here's a visual illusion. So if you have a look at this picture, you've got a square that's got A in it and a square that's got B in it. Raise your hand if you think that the square with A in it looks darker than the square with B in it. Goodness for that, none of you have a really socially embarrassing neurological disorder, except you. That's not true. But watch what happens if we have another look at this. These are those two squares taken out of that picture. And hopefully you can see that they're identical, and some of you may not believe me, so let's put A on top of that, and I'll put B on top of that. And some of you may still not believe me, so why don't we just move A over on top of B? Or B over on top of A. No matter how long you look at this, A will look darker than B because your brain's doing some really groovy stuff. Really quickly, outside of your awareness. Have a look at this. Turn your head on the side and have a look at the same picture. Nothing changes. That's the 100% case. So what really happens here? But exactly the same frequency is hitting your retina. And that sends a message to the back of the brain. And then all of this groovy stuff happens very quickly to ask the question, what does this really mean? What's biologically advantageous for me? And then you get a visual image. This is a visual illusion. And vision's not about the emotion. Vision's not necessarily about survival, but pain is. Now, some of you might not know if you're not medically trained, but what's happening at this guy's leg, right leg. That's not right. That's a dangerous situation, and that danger message arrives at the brain, and the brain has to ask exactly the same question. What does this mean? What should be done here? And hopefully the orchestra in this person's brain will make your leg hurt. In the work that I've been doing for a long time, we're trying our best to work out how do we convince people in pain that we understand they're in pain, but it's not just about the tissues of their body. How do we convince them of that? And a key conceptual shift that we think is really important is that you can understand that pain is the end result. Pain is an output of the brain designed to protect you. It's not something that comes from the tissues of your body. There's nothing there. We show patients a really sharp knife, and we say, this knife is sharp, yeah? Yeah. And it might be a bit cold, yeah? And it's hard. It's got all those properties. This knife painful as it sits out there. No, it's not. That knife does not have the properties of pain. And when you stick it into their belly, we do this regularly, straight through. The belly doesn't adopt the property of pain. The brain has to do some very rapid and groovy things to project this illusion that pain exists there. 100% of the time, pain is a construct of the brain. We can mess with pain really easily without touching the tissues. This is an experiment we did a while ago where we got supposedly normal, healthy volunteers. They're not normal people because they're volunteering for pain experiments. But let's say they're reasonably normal, right? And we put a very cold piece of metal on the back of their hand. And we just show them one of two lights. One light is red and one light is blue. We don't tell them anything about the lights. We just show them the light. I see that hand. And we ask them, how much does it hurt? And if they see the red light, it hurts more than if they see the blue light. The stimulus is exactly the same. What's different is the meaning of the stimulus. Now there's a cue that says this is really hot because red means hot. So the sensible brain, the clever brain should say, well, I really don't want you to do it. So I'm going to make it really hurt. People in the States are allowed to get their psychology students to participate in experiments in exchange for credit points or sex or something. Anyway, they put their head inside what they think is a stimulator to their head, and they make sure that the subject can see the intensity knob. And as they turn up the intensity knob, this picture, the little figure there showing the lines going up to the steady range, that's their reported head pain, and it matches the intensity knob. But the stimulator is doing nothing. It's just one of those old-fashioned plastic hair dryers that doesn't do anything. Yeah, you know those things? Yeah, you probably use one. The trick is that they have to see the intensity knob. And I always think it'd be fun to do an experiment based on that Spinal Tap film where the intensity knob goes up to 11. Remember that film? What's really important from a clinical perspective, and I'm a clinical neuroscientist and I see patients in pain, any piece of credible evidence that they're in danger should change their pain. And they're all walking into hospital departments with models like this on the desk. What does your brain say when it sees a disc that's split so far out it's sitting on its own? If you've ever seen a disc in a cadaver, you can't split the suckers. They're immobile. You can't split the disc. But that's our language, and it messes with your brain. It cannot not mess with your brain. We can even modulate the location of pain. We can do some groovy things. It's quite well established that referred pain gives you pain in an area of your body that might be physiologically normal. And most of you would have heard of referred pain. Bless you. We do experiments where we give you pain in an artificial limb, not even yours. This is Meng, who was a postdoc in my lab in Oxford in the UK, and we stole a prosthetic limb, which is a whole other story, which is really funny. But I won't tell it to you. And we can do this manipulation so that you start to feel like the plastic limb in front of you is yours. And we can make the rubber hand hurt. We can bring in the knife and run the knife across the rubber hand, and you have your brain responses to protect that rubber hand. You're feeling pain in a lump of plastic, effectively. Here's a groovy experiment where we take two Microsoft clip art people and we put a webcam on the forehead of one of them and a set of virtual reality glasses on the other one. And then we get them to shake hands. And as they're shaking hands, the person on your right, who's wearing the goggles, their visual field is coming from the other person's forehead. Have you got it? So they are effectively looking at the other person, thinking it's them, because they're shaking hands, the motor command, everything's good. And then we come in and put a painful stimulus on that person's arm, and they see it hit the arm of the person over there with whom they're shaking hands. And they say, ouch, it really hurts. And we say, where does it hurt? On that man's arm. And they get it right every time. They point exactly where it is. But if you're an outside taking a photo of that, they're literally, we've got the painful stimulus here, and they're saying, it hurts there. So the brain is not only producing pain, it's projecting it to this location in midair. We can mess with that. This all becomes really important when pain persists, because two things happen when pain persists that make the life of someone in pain really difficult, that cost our country $40 billion a year, costs Australia more than cancer, cardiovascular disease and diabetes combined. Thanks for that facial expression. I wanted someone to go. This is the problem, that if we keep running the neurons, the brain cells that produce pain, they get better at producing pain. They become more and more sensitive, so we need a smaller and smaller influence. The illusion, if you like, in increasing sensitivity becomes very unhelpful. It's trying to protect you from something that's not needing protection. Very real. The other thing that happens is that all of these networks lose their capacity to be specific and precise. So the pain spreads. The pain changes its quality. Ultimately, it's not even, it's both unhelpful and uninformative. Maybe the next TED talk ever is the really important question: what do we do about it? But no, we do know that's what we're really researching, but that's the end of my 18 minutes. Thank you very much for having me. It was cool.
So hopefully that's sort of given a little bit of an interesting idea as to what pain is. Oh, always check, where is it? On there. I thought I pressed pause, but obviously I hadn't. So we can, with our pain, we can learn and we can repeat, and obviously our beautiful bodies can sometimes under pressure go a little bit haywire, and you know, we can, it's a bit like receiving junk mail constantly. You know, you've asked at source for the junk mail not to come, and it still keeps coming. You know, it's like the pain messages keep coming, even though we know that the pain has gone, it's no longer there, and we've got a bit of misfire, we need to sort something out. So start off just gently massaging, and I noticed that you were massaging during that, which is lovely. And we can also confuse our senses a little bit with things like a TENS machine, which is a transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation. And a bit, as Lorimer was saying there, it's that message to the brain, and it's that final sort of bit of the pathway. We can interrupt it, and therefore we can change how we perceive pain. And that's again what that light touch of massage can do. So we could go down using our TENS machine and mixing up pain messages so that they don't come in as hard and as regular, and eventually over time we can sort of dampen it down, and always look at the benefits and the disadvantages of a TENS machine, and check from, you know, a health practitioner that it's a right thing for you to use, particularly on a low frequency. It can work really nicely over time. You don't want to burn your skin, never turn it up high, make sure you're putting it on with no chemicals underneath it, all of those reasons for caution. But we can do very similar things with massage, and using this superficial, these nociceptors in the surface of our skin, we can confuse. And if pain, either from operation or scar or a trigger point, we can again change. and we can change it by repeatedly, gently getting our brain message used to. Do you know that time when you touch your skin? I don't know whether you've had it, and it feels like fire. It feels like knives, and it's your finger pads, and you're in so much pain, and everything's firing up, and there's so much stimulation that it just hurts so much. And then the second time you do it, it hurts, but not as much. And then eventually, over time, we learn, and the body learns, and it's done kindly and gently. It's done with the breath. It's done with a beautiful massage medium. It's done with a lovely smell around us. It's done with calming music. You start to produce endorphins, and endorphins are natural painkillers, natural analgesics. So we don't need to go down the medicine route so much. We're not in pain so much. So things like skin brushing, if it works for you. For some people, it might be irritating. You have to do little and often, and it becomes less irritating. It's just all those poor, beautiful nociceptors, your nerve receptors that are trying to protect you, are just on high alert, and it's like a volume button that's been turned right up. And over time, a little bit of brushing each day, the volume comes down a bit. A little bit of brushing, the volume's turned down, and then eventually you can do this and go, there's no pain. It doesn't feel like knives and burning, and it takes time, and it's about reteaching your body. So anyone who does body brushing, it's great because it slows off your dead skin cells, and it's nice and gentle, and that can be done, you know, before, after bathing or whatever. And then I've got another massage thing, again, to protect our hands if we've got sore and painful hands, you know, things like that just give a different texture. Because if you're only using the same thing all the time and you're trying to calm nerves down, when you put something different on there, it's going to struggle. So I don't know whether you've seen people use a feather or cotton wool to desensitize. We can use our own hands with different pressure. We can use a towel because a towel's a bit rougher, and the brush, etc. There might be a part of your body that you struggle to get to, and there are brilliant massage guns and things around, but if, again, a tennis ball up against a wall, you might look a bit odd if the neighbours are looking through the window, but you know, that ball against the wall can sort of get into parts of the bits that you struggle, or if you've got tight shoulders or whatever, the bits that you would struggle to get into. But if you're able to gently self-massage, you can teach yourself and turn down those pain receptors. And those pain receptors can even be auditory. So loud noises can become sort of painful, and bright lights can become painful. And your body sensing that kind of sensory overload, that sensitization constantly, can be really exhausting. So the more that we can do gently, and when we're well rested and in a kind environment to ourselves, the more that we can sort of dampen down and turn that volume button down. So we're helping to move the lymphatic system because it hasn't got a pump. So any massaging is going to help with that. We're warming up our muscles. If you've got, I often say this, if you've got a piece of plasticine out of the cupboard and you went to pull it, it would snap. Whereas if you've warmed it up in your hands first, it's going to be warmer, more supple, reducing muscular tension. So the benefits of massage are huge. I'm a great advocate of it. It's finding that right type of massage, whether it's Swedish massage. I would doubt very much that it's going to be a full-on deep tissue massage, because if there's pain, you don't want to really hit it hard with a deep massage. And finding someone or yourself that can do, as I said, we started off with effleurage, warming that surface area up, and then we did some across our muscles. We can do some working into trigger points and sort of just little areas that we notice of tightness. And another one that I forgot to say was, if you pick your skin up and sort of roll it, you can pick skin and muscle up. Sometimes when you roll it, you might feel a little bit like bubble wrap going, And all that's doing is that's freeing up your skin and the sort of pouches that your muscles sit in. So the myofascia, that's like a little membrane around your muscles, and then your natural body fat. So you're freeing them all up so they can glide, so the muscles can move, the skin can move, everything glides rather than being stuck and stiff and tight. So the massage medium, choose something that suits you. A bit of effleurage working along the muscle, across the muscle, a little bit of petrissage where we're sort of shimmying and sliding the muscle up and down, which again, if we've got, it's a bit like kneading bread. If you've got your two hands free, you can do it on your thigh quite nicely. You could probably do it on your lower leg as well. It's a little bit hard to do it on your own arm because you take one hand out of the way. And then, as I said, that sort of picking and rolling and freeing up. And then we did the sort of the cupping, the vibrating, the shaking of our muscles as well. And that's that sort of hacking as well, the light little hacking, or just wobbling it. And wobbling it can help it relax. Another thing that can help is our intake of things like magnesium, being very careful and aware of the magnesium that you do have. Steer clear of stearate if you can, but magnesium citrate. That can go as Epsom salts in a bath, build it up slowly and gradually, and that can help those muscles with relaxing as well. So with pain, we can retrain the brain. It takes time, as all of these things do. And mind, body, breath work, what goes into our body, what goes onto our body. As I said, if you're putting something that's highly chemically onto your skin, it's going to become part of you. So the kinder we are. And someone's just reminded me very gratefully for that flushing through, hydrating and flushing through once you've had a massage is hugely beneficial as well. But taking time for you is something that's paramount. Wendy is an amazing naturopathic nutritionist. And so from the pain reduction point of view, things like all of those anti-inflammatory foods and things like that, she's our expert. Go and have a look at her videos on the community hub. Dan is our musculoskeletal pain management expert. He teaches it to lecturers. He's got great knowledge on that. I think there's a video of his on the community hub as well, and we'll be bringing him in on and off to do some of our health practitioner work as well. But I'm going to bring this part of the video to a close by thanking you for allowing yourself to release endorphins, to produce oxytocin. Remember, the person receiving the massage produces oxytocin, the person giving the massage produces oxytocin, and any observers do. So it's good to watch a nice relaxing massage as well. So well done, you've just produced oxytocin, endorphins, natural analgesics. And then anyone who wants to ask questions on the live can